So here's the moment that had everyone whispering, the kind of moment that cuts deeper than any glossy magazine spread or carefully worded palace press release. Forget the big speeches, forget the PR games, because it was a tiny little microphone. Yes, that stupid microphone, that exposed more about Harry and Meghan's crumbling bond than any royal expert could ever explain. If you blinked, you probably missed it. But those who caught it, oh, they'll never forget. Harry had the mic. Meghan, of course, expected to be handed her share of the spotlight, like always. But he didn't pass it. Not even a glance, not even a flicker of ladies first. Just him holding on tight, talking like she wasn't even there. And in that silence, you could feel the tension so thick the audience could barely breathe. Now Meghan, oh, she tried. She really tried. She stepped forward uninvited, wrinkled outfit and all, looking like her suitcase had won the fight that morning. She hoped to wedge herself into a moment that clearly wasn't hers. But this time, that playbook of hers, the one that usually worked like magic, it fell flat, dead flat. Nobody clapped, nobody smiled. And Harry barely even acknowledged her. The man who once orbited around her like she was his entire universe suddenly acted like she wasn't even in his galaxy. No passing of the mic, no doting gesture, no fairy tale couple moment, just cold silence, sharp stares, and a shift in power so raw that it sent shivers through the crowd. It wasn't just awkward, it was seismic. And yet the mainstream press? Quiet as a graveyard, radio silence. They don't want this story. They'd rather keep pushing the fantasy of modern power couple while ignoring the giant elephant stomping around the stage in heels and fake smiles. The reality? Meghan wasn't even supposed to be on that stage. That moment wasn't hers to take. And yet there she was, forcing it, hijacking the camera time, trying to steal a slice of glory. But instead of a spotlight, she was left stranded, an extra in a scene that had already moved on. And Harry? Oh, you could read it all over his face. The second she tapped his back, his expression said it all. Here we go again. That wasn't relief. That wasn't love. That was the dread of a man trapped in a loop he couldn't escape. The crowd saw it. The cameras caught it. The atmosphere shifted instantly. But not in a romantic, fairy tale way. No, it was the kind of shift you feel when you're sitting at a dinner party and someone brings up politics. Uncomfortable, suffocating, and deeply awkward. The same Harry who once practically shoved the mic into her hand in front of the world, this time he clung to it like a lifeline. Growth, frustration, exhaustion, maybe all of it. But one thing was clear. Something had changed. Something big. And Meghan, oh Meghan, she pulled her usual trick. Smiled like nothing was wrong. Grinned as if the audience bought the act. But nobody did. The silence in that room was louder than any applause could have been. The team on stage froze. The audience just stared. Harry kept talking like she wasn't even there. And Meghan? She stood awkwardly, slowly realizing she wasn't welcome in the scene she was trying to crash. Then, with the grace of a guest overstaying their welcome at a party, she shuffled off stage, quiet, humiliated. But let's pause here, because the question is, where's the footage? Why aren't the headlines replaying this clip like they do every time Meghan forces a smile or Harry scratches his nose? Why isn't this moment splashed across every paper? Because it doesn't fit the narrative. The fairy tale sells, reality doesn't. And this moment, it was raw. It was unfiltered. It was the ugly truth peeking through the polished facade. And while Meghan was awkwardly fading into the background that night, something else, something far more telling, was unfolding thousands of miles away. A detail that almost no one noticed, but one that spoke louder than Meghan's fake smiles and Harry's silence combined. Ukraine. Yes, Ukraine. In official government correspondence, they referred to Prince Harry as His Royal Highness. Let that sink in for a second. The same title the palace supposedly stripped from him. The same badge of honor the press told us again and again was gone forever. Yet here it was, printed, official, untouched, and uncorrected. No backlash from Buckingham Palace. No stern press release. No royal aide rushing to clarify, just silence. And in royal politics, silence is never an accident. It's a strategy. So while Meghan is storming stages in wrinkled dresses and Harry is refusing to hand over microphones, the palace is quietly reminding the world he's still one of them. Maybe not fully, maybe not officially, but enough that governments still bow to the protocol. Think about that. Harry may be halfway out of the royal bubble, sipping green juice under the California sun, but his feet, they're still knee-deep in palace mud. The illusion that he's free is exactly that. An illusion. Every detail, from who he travels with to how he's addressed at state events, screams that the crown still pulls strings in his life. And don't forget, when Harry went to Ukraine, he didn't just roll up with Meghan's Hollywood friends. He went with palace aides. Palace aides, the kind of staff that don't hop on planes unless they've got clearance straight from the top. But you won't see this plastered across tabloids, because it ruins the fairy tale. The story they want you to believe is simple. Harry and Meghan broke free, built their own empire, and are now living their best independent lives in Montecito. Cute, right? Except reality doesn't look anything like that. The reality is messier. It's about power. Who has it? Who's losing it? And who's desperately clinging to the scraps? And if we're being brutally honest, Meghan's grip is slipping fast. fast. You can feel it. She used to walk into a room and own it. Every lens, every angle, every conversation bent in her favor. Now, when she steps on stage uninvited, people look puzzled instead of enchanted. The magic is gone. What's left is tension, awkwardness, and the slow unraveling of an image that once dazzled. And then came that Kevin Costner charity event. Oh, the disaster that was. Meghan wasn't scheduled. She wasn't expected. Yet, like clockwork, she popped up anyway, inserted herself into a moment that wasn't hers. The cameras rolled, but the energy, frozen. The audience, stiff. Nobody clapped. Nobody moved. It was like someone had hit pause on reality. Everyone stood there, unsure what to do with the uninvited Duchess in the spotlight. And Meghan, bless her heart, pulled her usual act. The too wide smile, the too long stance, the too desperate notice me aura. But this time, it backfired. Nobody rescued her. Nobody leaned in. She was just standing there waiting for a stage cue that never came. And when she finally walked off, stormed off really, the tension in that room cracked like a whip. Witnesses whispered that the smile melted the second she was backstage. And Harry? Poor Harry. You know exactly what kind of car conversation he endured that night. The kind where silence feels heavier than shouting. The kind where every mile home is filled with tension so thick it chokes the air. This isn't just a marriage under strain. This is a brand unraveling in real time. One half desperate to claw back relevance, the other half exhausted by the circus. Meghan chasing cameras, Harry avoiding them. A partnership turned into a performance, and a failing one at that. And the media? Oh, the games they play. One day, it's glowing headlines about reconciliation. The next, it's anonymous whispers that the marriage is on the brink. It's not journalism, it's bait. Conflict sells. And Harry and Meghan, they keep taking the bait every single time. Meanwhile, the palace? Silent, not weak, strategic. They've realized the best way to deal with Meghan's tantrums and Harry's pity tours is simple. Let them burn themselves out. No statements, no clarifications, no feeding the flames. And it's working. Meghan's charm is fading, Harry's confidence is draining, and the world? Slowly but surely, it's moving on, and that's exactly what's happening. Every trip Harry takes to Europe feels like a plea for relevance, like he's tethering himself to a crown that no longer wants him but refuses to fully let go. Every public engagement becomes a performance, a desperate attempt to prove he's still in the game. But the truth? The real game is being played without him. The palace knows it, the press knows it, and worst of all, Harry knows it. Meanwhile, Meghan is still pushing, still forcing herself into frames that don't belong to her. Every outfit, every awkward smile, every staged appearance feels too desperate, too forced. The woman who once controlled the lighting, the mood, the very lens of the story is now scrambling just to stay in the picture. And the saddest part? People around them are noticing. The whispers are getting louder. Insiders aren't staying silent anymore. They're watching, waiting, ready to spill when the timing's right. Because the Meghan who once twisted every truth to her advantage has lost her audience. The spell is broken. And Harry, oh Harry, he looks lonelier than ever. He may be sitting under the Californian sun, but he's still living in the shadow of Buckingham Palace. He thought he could walk away and build something stronger, freer, brighter. Instead, he's caught in contradictions, clinging to titles he pretends he doesn't need, while Meghan clings to spotlights that no longer want her. The fairy tale didn't just end, it unraveled, slowly, painfully, in front of cameras, flashing lights, and a frozen audience that didn't know whether to clap or cringe. And it all came down to that one night, that one microphone that never left his hand. Because that wasn't just a slip, that was a message. A line drawn in public, a glimpse into a partnership crumbling from the inside. And as the silence grows louder, as the palace continues to ignore them, as the public grows tired of the drama, one truth remains impossible to hide. The world has moved on. The crown doesn't need Harry and Meghan anymore. The spotlight doesn't follow them. And the carefully crafted story they fought so hard to sell? It's collapsing, one awkward moment at a time. So, was it just an argument over a microphone? Or was it the final curtain being pulled back on a love story that was never as strong as they wanted us to believe? And that's the real story, not the fairy tale, not the glossy Netflix version. The raw, uncomfortable truth. A prince stuck between two worlds, a duchess desperate for relevance, and a palace that says more with silence than Meghan and Harry can ever say with words. The microphone didn't lie, the silence didn't lie, and deep down, we all saw it.